This video will be about narcissists and how they are essentially weapons of mass destruction. The battle is not amongst the genders, male versus female. The battle is not amongst the races, black versus white. The battle is not amongst religions, Jews versus Gentiles. The battle is good versus evil, which is to say empaths versus psychopaths. So any other battles that are going on is just misdirected energy and, kind of like misplaced aggression. The focus should be on psychopaths, not anything else. Now I'm going to show some commentary from a fascinating woman I found online who is based in Israel, and she's speaking on psychopathy, and I found her to be very, very interesting. Now I apologize in advance if the audio is not that great. I'm going to be switching between a computer microphone and the actual computer audio. I'm going to try to adjust it in the best way that I can so it comes out so that you can hear it. You may hear me kind of like flickering or, fidgeting with the volume because I'll have to turn it up when I switch to her commentary. But this woman is giving some extremely interesting information, so I think it's important to see. I will also list the links to her videos in the description box if you would like to access the entire video and watch the whole thing. They are actually on Vimeo. They are not on YouTube. Although she does have a separate YouTube channel where she's delving into other subjects, but most of her psychopathy stuff is on Vimeo. Okay, so let me just her videos are underneath this, and let me just turn up the volume, and I hope you guys are able to. I really hope you're able to hear this.
Psychopaths are better at organizing to their own ends than are normal people. That's one of our extreme disadvantages, and we need to work on it. I'm calling upon the public, please, to break this final taboo and to begin to talk about the reality of the fact that within the human species, there is a subgroup that is genetically damaged, that is causing an inordinate amount of trouble in this world. Not every psychopath is on the level of a big bank owner or a government official where they're making big problems. Most of them just create chaos within the circles of their own family and the people that they come in contact with. And you may say, well, that's not so terrible. They sap so much energy. These people are energy vampires. They sap so much of your energy. They monopolize so much of your time and your strength and your concern and your focus that you no longer have the ability to be able to deal with the psychopaths that are in government and that are in business. You're always busy taking care of the destruction that they're wreaking in your home and in your life and in the neighborhood, and therefore your resources are not freed up to be able to fight corruption. In this way, the small psychopaths serve the interests of the big psychopaths, because they keep you busy with the wanton destruction that is being caused in your personal life, so that you can't deal with the wanton destruction that's being caused on the big scene, in the corporate world and in government. Most people are already overwhelmed with work and their own lives. If on top of that you have a psychopathic child, you have very, very little time to be able to think about anything else. Psychopathy has proven itself to not only trash private lives, but given the state of technology that there is now and the reach of their power, given the wealth that they've accrued, they can trash an entire planet, perhaps irrevocably. That being the case, it behooves us to get organized and band together for the sake of survival, and understand that we're very much under attack. One of the articles that I've read, and this is the one that I'm going to try to find to give you the link in the blurb, because it's so very good, and it leads to other articles as well, refers to psychopaths as psychophages. It's very, very astute. That's exactly what they are. They eat you alive. They eat up your energy. They eat up your time. They eat away at your spirit. And cause a blight, a pall of misery to generally hang over our lives. As I said, it's essential for the sake of the planet that the vibrations that go off of our bodies and that emanate from our brain activity be as positive as possible. This will actually determine the forms that reality will take as it lines itself up around us. And again, I urge you to look into cymatics, C-Y-M-A-T-I-C-S, to see how inanimate particles react to sound and take on various forms, including the forms that we recognize as life forms. So long as psychopaths are so very predominant in our societies and are determining so much of our activity, the world is doomed to be taking on very low forms, because it's happiness that describes the forms and the internal life that life forms take on. People think that this is being done by some kind of malevolent alien culture. No, this is something that's homegrown. And although most of humanity is really very peaceful and not of a mind to wage war, we do have to wage a war of survival. But again, we have to do it on our terms. First of all, they're better at their terms than we are. Second of all, the ultimate victory of the psychopath is to rob us of our humanity, to degrade us to their level. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that this video is a contribution to the body of work that has recently come out explicating what this phenomenon is, how dangerous it is, how destructive it is, and just how essential it is to the welfare of our species and this entire planet that we bring this this genetic defect under some kind of control. Thank you for listening.
Okay, and then I just have one more clip underneath, which is the same woman. I just want you to see. So let me do that, and I just want you to check this out as well.
When we look at the fact that the people who are running the world, the people in positions of power and influence and wealth, are also in large part psychopaths or under the control of psychopaths, we realize that the psychopaths with more power are putting the psychopaths with less power in the position of having to make certain decisions. I'll explain what I mean by that. When this psychopath who is now thinking about writing a book and suing people for all the terrible things that they did to them, which make them the way they are now, they're doing that because they have crushing debt. They have crushing debt because the bank allowed them to have crushing debt. If a person who walks into a bank and that person has limited resources, limited income, asks for a loan, and the bank gives them far more credit than they can reasonably pay back, the bank has ensured that that person is going to do something desperate to pay back that loan. Because bank policy is determined by psychopaths, and psychopaths know that other psychopaths always have economic problems because their judgment is so severely impaired. They know that they can trust these people to pay back their loans somehow. In other words, when this psychopathic person walked into the bank, the psychopathic system which had been created was able to identify this person as, we don't have to worry about getting our money back from this person even though they have limited income, because we can trust this person to do something crazy to get the money back. That is where the mind control comes in. And the system then is devised by the psychopaths for the psychopaths to help them control the non-psychopaths. So the question that I always entertained is, okay, let's assume that there are 1 million mind control victims. How can it be that there's so much ambient mind control? And when I knew that I had been subjected to some kind of attempt to control the way I thought and felt as a child, but when I tried to say to myself, do I have memories of being taken to some underground dump, and shocked and tortured, and the answer was, I really don't think that happened to me. Yet and still, I knew that I had been subjected to some kind of attempt at mind control, which evidently wasn't very successful because I'm still a radical rebel pain in the ass. This is what my family tells me. And, but it happened. This is the way it happens. You don't need to be an individually experimented on person. If you've come up against psychopaths in your family, if you're coming from a background of intergenerational psychopathy, like I am, the people who were raising you were so programmed that they made one psychopathic or one narcissistic decision after another, which inevitably resulted in their lives being a shambles, which they had to do something desperate to try to clear up, to try to cover up. Just the fact that you were being raised by someone like that means that they were attempting to pull you into their insanity, and that is a form of mind control. So it doesn't need to be carried out necessarily by the government. It can be done right by your own psychopathic parent or your narcissistic parent. And if you're not of a psychopathic mind, if you're not of a narcissistic,
Okay, so this is very important stuff that she's discussing here. What she's kind of suggesting is that there are lower tier psychopaths that are, they can infiltrate these social media platforms and take out just the layman, just the regular everyday average person. They're all over these social media platforms like white on rice, and they just go destroying one person after the other, after the other, after the other, like a virus. And this is helping out the higher tiered psychopaths in government and politics, and almost like they're doing the dirty work on the ground. And they want us all confused and fighting against each other so that we're not focusing on the correct problem. The correct problem is there is severe evil going on, and people are being controlled and people are being destroyed, and instead the masses are just turning on each other and focusing on stupid problems that are not the real problem. The real problem is evil. So they want the races fighting amongst each other. That's why they force feed us. Every time you turn on the news, it's some racial story. They want us all arguing amongst each other so that we're in a complete state of confusion and we're not focusing on the real problem, which is the evil psychopaths that run everything. These narcissists operate in the same way that, dictators operate. They use these kind of weapons of mass destruction and torturous weapons such as gaslighting, sleep deprivation. I mean, this is psychological torture that they're inflicting on people, and this is the same thing they use in like war, for prisoners. Torture them, don't let them sleep, gaslight them. I mean, this is severe psychological torture. Many of these victims, they never get better after being subjected to these types of abuses. Some of them are never, ever the same. They can't even function anymore. And this is what narcissists want for us. They want us laid out in a fetal position, not even being able to function because our mind is so screwed up from what they did to us and the way they treated us that we can no longer even function properly. We can't get ahead. We can't do this. We can't advance in our lives. But we have to understand what's going on, because the government that controls everything is controlled by psychopaths. So what do you think you're learning in school? When you go to a college in the United States, where are you getting your loan from? You're getting your loan from the federal government. Do you think they're going to fund something that is actually steering you in the right direction? I mean, toward health, wellness, things like that. The doctors that they train at these so-called universities are being trained to poison us all with pharmaceuticals. The protocol is give them a poisonous toxin. These pharmaceuticals are highly toxic. They are not good for your body. But yet when the doctors go to these federally funded by the government colleges, they're being trained. The first order of business is to poison you, is to give you a pharmaceutical that will not make you well, mind you. But they're being trained to do that, and they're also getting sent checks for all of the amount of prescriptions they give out. The pharmaceuticals then pay them when they're actually in practice. They're collecting a hefty amount of money for poisoning you. They do not care. Many doctors have no conscience whatsoever, and many of them are psychopaths. A lot of the people in these service industries are psychopaths. I hate to break it to you. They're very scary and evil people, and they do not care one shred about your health. I can tell you that. So I would be extremely careful about every single person you interact with. And then you have these people, oh, I'm woke, stay woke, stay woke. All of these people talking about stay woke and this and that, okay, these people are deader than a doorknob, okay? They don't even know what they're talking about. They don't even have a clue what's even going on in the world. So, I'm woke, stay woke. No, you're not woke, okay? You're not. So, you need to keep your third eye open and understand what is going on in the world. It's not pretty, and it's if we're all turning on each other, then we can't rise up, organize, and actually fight against the correct put our energy into the correct direction, which is the psychopaths.